Today's episode is sponsored by the Redwood City Zine Library. The Redwood City Zine Library is a community-based, traveling zine library located in the Bay Area. Check them out on Instagram at rwc.zinelibrary or buy some merch at ko-fi.com/rwczine-library. That's ko-fi.com/rwczine-library. And happy zine reading. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you about our Patreon page at patreon.com/humanmachine. You can go there and sign up to read zines, get music sneak peeks, and all kinds of other things. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. And now, I'd like to play something for you. You're hearing Ashes by Rose Ceremony, featuring my new pal, Carlos Cartagena, on drums and vocals. The song is previously unreleased, but coming soon on a new release titled possibly Iteration 3.
So I think when I really started listening to guitar music, I guess, and kind of trying to find more of that kind of stuff was probably when I was in 5th grade, and we had this office in our house, and in the summer I would play RuneScape in there, LOL, and I would just have MTV on in the background, and I remember listening or watching the music video for Make Damn Sure by Taking Back Sunday. And I was just like, whoa, what is this? This is really cool. And then I just started listening to that whole album Louder Now. And yeah, I think that was whenever I started really getting into it. And then I started listening to My Chem and bands like that.
Uh-huh. And that really tracks for where you're at with Rose Ceremony, in my opinion, because there's so much call and return in the vocals, and then just the fact that there's so many people doing vocals.
Yeah, I think that's something that we I mean, those boys were in emo bands before, and they always did the gang vocal style, and I think we all just kind of really gravitate towards that, Marietta and stuff like that too. I don't know, we really like the overlapping kind of messy vocal style.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was just chatting with a friend of mine the other day. We were doing sort of a year recap, and we were talking about how well, I was talking about, because he had not heard your Iteration 2 yet. I was just talking about how I wouldn't be surprised at all if the band's inspirations and stuff came from that sort of that kind of thing, like Emery and Taking Back Sunday, or a Static Lullaby or something like that. But then you all, based on those initial influences, started hearing more smaller regional local bands like Adobe Homes or something like that, and that's when all of these sounds converged and became what we sort of hear on Iteration 2.
Yeah, I actually just got into Adobe Homes. A lot of people have been talking about them. And yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, the vocalist is an old dear friend of mine. But it's there. It's really I can't remember what song in specific of y'all's where I was like, oh, maybe somebody likes Adobe Homes, but it's really just like there's a lot of that in them where it's just there's like one guitar hitting a note with like a crash, and it's like four voices singing the exact same thing in like a an echo, kind of like gang
Yeah.
vocal style. And I was like, oh, like I definitely heard that in y'all stuff for sure. But yeah, we sort of jumped right into the album there, but like once you were like really turned on to like Taking Back Sunday and started getting into like My Chemical Romance and stuff like that, were you already playing an instrument at that point, or was this also a catalyst for that?
So no, I wasn't, but like my older cousins were in band, and I had already thought about joining, the school band in sixth grade.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was kind of like my first introduction into playing music.
Hmm.
And then I didn't really pick up like the bass or anything until like high school, I guess.
So what were you playing in school band?
Clarinet and bass
Clarinet.
clarinet.
Okay. Okay. So you didn't even start out in percussion.
No, no, I just started playing the drums.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
you said bass before. So you were playing clarinet and bass clarinet in the school band, and then you went to bass guitar.
Yes.
So that was like your first, like oh, I'm gonna play rock music. I'm gonna play bass guitar.
Yeah. That was like, for me, it was like, I mean, whatever, we were poor or whatever. So I was like, I don't really need lessons, like
Yeah.
I could like read music. So I was just like, well, I'll just get a bass and like look up tabs and stuff because like rhythms I can read. So I just like started doing that.
Yeah, and I mean it's punk. That's the
Yeah.
thing, right? Like we're all just figuring this out, like however we can figure it out. And like, the songs, well, maybe not necessarily like, Taking Back Sunday or My Chemical Romance, but like a lot of the songs like they lend themselves to that. It's like not it's not Dream Theater or like, you know, like Danny Carey Tool Parts or something.
Right.
It's like you can just like sort of you can use whatever kind of knowledge you have already and just sort of like pick it up and fumble around until you're like, oh yeah, that sounds close, the same, similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, were you trying to get into a bands on bass? Like were you doing that at that point?
I was trying to, um, we did like a couple things for the talent show at my school. We covered It's Dangerous Business Walking Out Your Front Door one year. And then we did, do you know that band, The Amity Affliction? We were really into metalcore.
I don't.
There, yeah, some shit ass metalcore band from Australia, I think.
Oh, Australia.
And so we covered one of their songs. I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
And then we covered an Of Mice and Men song.
The school talent show is really an underrated like testing ground for like, there's got to be so many people that enter their school talent fair, and whatever it is that they're doing in the talent fair, they never touch that sort of art or performance like again in their life. But like when it comes to this show, like the school talent fair comes up so much that it's just like if you go up there with your band and you like are playing an instrument, like one out of those five people are gonna try to take this further, if not more.
Yeah, and I was the one.
Yeah, you were the one out of that group. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, did you play bass for a while, and did you try to like, was that like your passion for a while? And like, if so, like, were you in any bands that did recordings or anything like that? Or
I wouldn't say bass was my passion. It was just kind of like this is all that I can physically do.
mm-hmm.
And what I was like doing on the side was like I was like playing on Guitar Pro and just kind of like writing like shitty metalcore songs and stuff. And I would practice the bass parts for those. But like I didn't join a band until like 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd been playing and like kind of like studying music for a while, but I used to be like really timid. And so like I would find these people who were like in bands and like who like were like down to start a band, I guess. And we would like jam like once and then I'd be like, okay, cool. If they want to jam again, they'll hit me up. And like that's not really the way to go about it, you know?
Yeah.
And so all that stuff just kind of fell through and I I guess I just kind of like dropped music for a bit and was like, I'm just gonna like focus on school and stuff. And I wanted to be like a professional, quote unquote. Um, but that lifestyle sucks. So then I came back to music and I I started this hardcore band, Grit. I did vocals. We have a split with another band that I did. Um, Horrible, horrible name called Cease All Control. I played bass in that. It's just like caveman shit.
Okay. And that was kind of like the first time that you did a band, or rather two bands in that case, with like recordings that you were like proud of and showed people and stuff.
Yeah, we were proud of them, I guess, at the time. I
Yeah, for
listened to them
sure.
like a few months ago and like they're like really sloppy and stuff. They're still on Spotify, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Um,
always, hindsight is always, it's like, you did the best you could do at the time, and then you hopefully nobody that keeps playing music year after year, like hopefully nobody gets like worse at it, you know?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so there's really kind of like only one or two ways to look at your earliest stuff, is just sort of like, you know what, like for where we were, like this is pretty decent. I look at it differently now, of course, but yeah, like what were those first couple of recording experiences like? Were you doing the recordings yourselves? Did you find a local company, or like what were those situations like?
we did them all ourselves. Yeah. So um, that first band, Grit, uh, our bassist and vocalist Kyle, he helped record that stuff in my bedroom where I am right now. Um, and then, yeah, the other side of the split was recorded in a garage by ourselves. Um, I was in this band with, do you know Rain from Mean Girls, or the band Mean
Yeah,
Girls?
yeah.
Yeah, I was in a band with her, and she recorded like all the stuff that we did.
What band were you in
Uh,
with Rain?
it's called Party Ghost. It's like
Oh
kind of
yeah,
poppy.
yeah.
Uh,
I heard that.
oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun being in that band. What else? I do this thing face turn, which is like why I started playing the drums because nobody wanted to play the drums. So I figured it out. And then I do all that by myself in my garage. Just that EP I sent you really is when we were like, okay, somebody else record this, please.
Okay, so Iteration was self-recorded.
Yeah, in my garage. It was a pain in the ass.
Okay. Um, why was it a pain in the ass?
Oh, it's just a lot of work, you know. I
Yeah,
mean, it didn't
yeah.
cost us like any money, like at all, which is nice. But, you know, it's like we recorded like drums and stuff in August. And like in the garage, it was just so hot.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah. And we did it. so we had to record the album twice basically, because the first time we were trying to do it. So I did like a 6 week run with Amygdala in 2023.
On drums?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we were like, okay, like we need to record this album before you leave. We have basically 3 weeks to do it. And so we just really rushed it, and we were being like kind of, I guess careless. Like we didn't use a metronome, which I know a lot of people are like, who cares? Don't use a metronome, but whatever. I like a metronome. Um, and like we didn't use scratch tracks, and it was just like a really, really messy recording. So we scrapped it. And when I came back, I like tempo mapped everything and was like, all right, we're going to do it for real this time. And just like, we were only doing 2 songs per day on the drums to not get tired or like, like annoyed or like angry or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, the process just took a really long time, is mainly why I thought it was annoying. But
Yeah.
I'm happy with the product. It sounds great, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Were you did were this how long had you all been playing the songs like by the time that you went to do the recording? Were some of them still sort of fresh, and so that was part of the like anxiety or like the stress of it, or
Um, I guess so. Like, I mean, there are certain parts and like, obviously nobody's going to notice, but like, there are certain parts in the songs where I'm like, I don't really play it like that anymore. I wish I would have done this, or I would have cleaned up this fill, or like cleaned up this part or whatever. But
mm-hmm.
that was like a little bit of anxiety. Um, but yeah, like the songs that, um, like some of the songs we had been playing for, I think like almost a year.
Yeah, I to just sort of like uh go back a bit. The band's first release was in 2022, and then Iteration came out in 2024, this year. So like the 6 weeks that you did with Amygdala, that explains a lot as far as like from the first recording until the second recording, because you obviously had that whole month and something, in addition to like obviously the band coming up with the songs, the material and doing the recordings and everything like that. So that explains a lot. But one thing that now I'm not sure if I'm just altogether mistaken or if there were other things going on here, but I thought one thing that just in looking at the credits on the albums. So on the first release, you had Kyle marked as guitar and vocals, and then on Iteration it just says vocals. And then I think on the newest release that you had just sent me, it was also guitar and vocals. So like, I thought, and I remarked on this when I was chatting with my friend, one thing that really stood out to me about Iteration is that like I didn't notice more than one guitar part in a song. And I was super impressed by that. I was like, because it's really hard to have just like one guitar part, even if like y'all overdubbed, even if you did like a track in each speaker, like to make it stereo or whatever. Like, even if you did that, it sounded like it was basically just one guitar part per song. And I thought, like, that was really impressive to me, to where you have so much going on. There's so much interaction between all the instruments, all the vocals, but you just have this one guitar part. And it's like, I never felt like it needed anything else, or anything. Now, is that true? There was just like the one guitar on Iteration, or was I missing some things?
No, that's true. It was just Josh.
Okay.
Josh was the only guitar player.
Okay, and what was the decision for so from the first release there were two guitars, and then to the newest release there are also two guitars. And in that one, like, that's the first thing that I noticed, like, before I even saw the credits or whatever, that's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, yeah, this is stereo guitars that are doing different things. Like it's, it's night and day from my iteration. And I'm not saying that's like a good or bad thing. I think both releases stand on their own quite well. But like, what was the decision making like for where it was just like, we're going to do this way on iteration. And then after the fact, it was like, no, let's do two guitars again.
So I'm about to punish you.
Okay, that's fine. We got time.
So yeah, so in, and I guess this will like kind of bring in like why it's called iteration too. But so that first split that we did, we were doing like a more, I mean, if you heard it, it's like a more like pop punky, like kind of Midwesty, and like we do some like metalcore shit on there too. We had Kyle on the guitar and Josh on the guitar, and this guy Drew on bass. And whatever, they go back. They've been in like a bunch of bands in the scene, like together here in Austin, like always doing like that twinkly emo stuff. And after we recorded that, I guess Kyle decided to go back to school, and was like, he didn't have time, to like practice weekly and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he like, I guess kind of like soft quit, or he like kind of quit the band really. And then that's when me and Josh kind of started writing these songs for iteration 2. We were like, okay, there's only one guitar player, like, like the songs are going to be like super busy or whatever. And we like, me and him kind of wanted to write like darker, like more screamo sounding stuff. And we started demoing all that stuff out, and we would still hang out with Kyle and stuff, and we would like show him, and he would be like, damn, this is sick. Like, this is cool. Like, let me just do vocals. Like, fuck playing guitar. I don't want to play the guitar anymore. Let me do the vocals. And we're like, okay. And, so he was like happy with that for a bit. And he had also been playing bass with this like math rock band, Minuano. And I think he like fell in love with playing bass while he was in that band. And so we like went through this whole recording process and like did a bunch of shows and stuff with these songs. And then our bass player Drew kind of started doing this like other project, Nervous, that's like, it's like kind of shoegazy and kind of more like emo, and he was like really, really focused on that. And so he kind of left to do that, instead. Mm-hmm. Like focus more on that. And so then Kyle was like, okay, I'll play bass. And so that's how he got to play bass. And then now we have this guy, Alex, who's also in that band, Minuano. We asked him to play the guitar for us because me, Josh, and Alex had started this band with Ale from Amygdala called Milagrito. We played one show and like that was it. And we were like, we had been writing for it for a while, and then that band died, and so we were like, well, why don't we just take these songs to Rose Ceremony? And Alex came up with second guitar parts for all those songs.
Okay.
One on the EP that hasn't been released yet.
Right. so the first it was Kyle on guitar and vocals, and then just vocals, and then a little flip flop to bass, and then you bring in someone else when the bass player leaves. I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I I guess that's like I mean, obviously like there's something listening to iteration to the new thing, like there's something that's quite different, and now that all tracks, that all makes a lot of sense. It's not different enough to where anybody's going to be like, oh, this is a different band, you know, you should call it something else or something. But like, you know, it's just a different overall approach, and you know, leaves you with a different feeling, I guess,
Yeah.
after listening to it. But yeah, I'm I'm sort of like, you know, we jumped like right all the way from, you know, sort of the start of the band to the end of the band there. But you said that like, you know, you had started drums like out of pretty much just necessity, and that resonates with me a lot because that's how I started playing drums. It was like I was getting a band together, and everybody was like, I'll play this, I'll play this, I'll play this. And then the only thing left to do was drums. And I was like, okay, I guess I will buy a drum set. So is that kind of exactly how you started? It was just like, you know, you said you couldn't get anyone to play drums. So it's just like, okay, I'll buy a kit. And like, what was your process like for learning the drums? You know, you mentioned on bass, you sort of, you could read music and, you know, you'd look up tabs and whatnot. So how was learning drums different for you than learning bass, or how was it the same?
So I had a few friends who I guess basically just like quit playing drums. Like I mentioned that band Grit earlier. The girl who played drums in that, Alyssa, was like, "Yeah, I don't want to play drums anymore, like ever." And so she gave me her electric drum kit, and this was like December, December 2020. So it was like, you know, a good way into lockdown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working from home, and so like basically it just like started like painfully slow, like 40 BPM, trying to get my limbs to like do different things. And then once I was comfortable with that, I just started like trying to play Lydia songs. Do you know that band?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Lydia. I was listening to them today. Um, and once I felt comfortable with that, I took lessons for a month. And I think that really helped. Um,
What were they? What were they like showing you in lessons that you wouldn't have, you know, come across in like what were the takeaways from that you feel like really pushed you?
I mean, like in like when you take lessons from someone who's good, like a good teacher or something, they'll like see where you're at and they kind of know like what to give you, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like what to make you play, like stuff that I would like never really do, like, you know, like pop songs like what, The Eye of the Tiger we played Thriller, you know, just like really like basic, like, you know, drum beats.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I don't know, it just like makes you more comfortable just like on the drums, like getting around the kit and stuff, and then you can apply that elsewhere, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
like things that are like, you know, maybe like above your pay grade, you know, that you can't really play, but you like want to play.
So it wasn't just like, oh, take this home and do these rudiments and stuff like that. It was a more immersive like kind of like evaluation of your skills and like what you needed to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, I like told him that I was like super fresh. I couldn't really do anything. And yeah, he was just like, you know, he's like a rock drummer. So he like wanted to do all that. And I don't even know if there was like any talk of rudiments,
Hmm.
but I started doing rudiments and stuff on my own like afterwards when I was like okay, like I want to be serious about this and like get really good.
Yeah. What happens at the 1 month point where you're sort of like, okay, like I can take this from here?
Um, I was getting really tired, I guess. It was like really far. It was like 30 minutes from my house, and like the drum lessons were like at 6 o'clock, so I would either have to leave at like 4:30, so I wouldn't get stuck in traffic and just kind of like bum around in the area until it was time,
Oh
or
yeah.
like just be late. And it was really expensive. It was like, I think it was like $275 or $250 for like 4 hours a month or something.
Oh damn.
And so I was just like, I don't really want to, keep doing this. And like that was when I first got together with the Rose Ceremony boys, because their drummer had left. He moved to New York. And I was like, hey, I'm learning drums. Like, if y'all just want to fuck around and stuff. And I was
Hmm.
like, I had no intention of starting a band with them or anything. I was just like, I just want to play.
Yeah, but how fast do you think, like, just starting to play with people, like actually play with people, jump started like where you were at, and to like like I mean I feel like playing with people is the absolute fastest way to actually start getting like practical skills behind the drum set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the question exactly?
Well,
Like,
it's just like I went around in circles on that one, but it's like how much do you feel like that just playing with people jump started like your skills, like as far as from where you were at till like getting to where you're actually like, okay, we're a band now, like we can do this together.
well, like I guess so. That was probably May 2021 when I started playing with them,
Hmm.
and I guess I like felt like it was really helping a lot because I would hit up people in other bands, like just be like, hey, like, do you have any free time? Like, do you want to come jam? Like, I mean, and I would get into some like silly situations where I'd be like, I want to practice classical, I want to play fast, and they'd be like, okay, and then they'd play way faster than I could play, and I'd just be like, like super awkward. I would even like hit up people who like played music that I didn't really care to play, like psych rock.
It's for like a
And
different experience.
yeah, just to be like, all right, like I just want to get good, I just want to play and like play and play and play. And I guess it was probably like in July of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, where I remember we were like taking a break at like whatever band practice, quote unquote. And then Kyle was like, we need a name for our band. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, we're a band now. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we played our show in October of 2021, our first show. Is that right? That is right. So
Yeah.
less than a year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, going from, you know, 0 to 60 in a year, that's, I mean, I think that's pretty good. I, I more or less got a drum set and was playing shows in like a few weeks, but like, to be fair, like, I had been playing guitar in bands like for, you know, years. And I don't know. I feel like I was able to just absorb a lot of it from just being, just watching a drummer, you know, constantly while
Yeah.
you're, you know, but yeah, it's like once you like, now that you're more or less like a drummer, like how do you feel about like do you have like a hierarchy of like these are my favorite things to play? Is drums your favorite thing to play, or is it kind of just like you're just happy to be making music and it doesn't matter so much what you have to do it?
Drums are my favorite for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
The drums, yeah. I before I did drums, I played guitar too. I started learning guitar,
Hmm.
but I just think there was always something in the back of my mind that was like I have to play the drums, you know.
Yeah,
It was just like scary to start, but I don't know. That's what I noticed in like most bands is just like, oh, that was a cool drum fill. Oh, like those ghost notes are really nice, you know, like it's like really delicate parts that kind of make a song.
hmm,
So I think that was kind of why I was drawn to the drums.
yeah. That's sort of the antithesis to why I love playing the drums is like the just that exact opposite. Like I don't I'll do the same thing all the time and I'm sort of embarrassed by it when I notice it, but like at the same time I'm like it's, sometimes when you get to a point when you're doing something and it just feels that good, like I just don't like that's why I want to do it, so I don't really care. Like I I'm like I'm just like I'm like infamous for like the fact that like I will plan out like these drum parts for a recording or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, and when I get to this point and I'm changing over sort of like from this part to this part, I'm gonna do like this kind of fill or whatever. And when it comes down to it, it's not, it never happens. Like this other fill never happens. It's just like a da 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 da. Like it doesn't matter. And I'm just like, I don't know if I just get nervous and I fall back onto what I know or like whatever. But when I'm just like cracking on that snare like that, it feels so good. Like I don't care, like
Yeah.
there's so much to be said, I think, about like as a person who can play many instruments about like where like it's almost like with me it's almost like I can observe like the state of my like mental like not I wouldn't say like well-being, but where I am at mentally, like based on whether I want to play drums or guitar or bass or whatever. Like if I am like feeling like, oh, like I want to just like screw around, like I want to just sort of tinker and mess with something, and I want to just like be childlike and explorative or whatever, then I'll find myself playing guitar. And I won't be really playing anything. I'll just be like making weird patterns or like noises, And
Yeah.
like if I feel like, yeah, I notice when I'm playing the drums, it's like it's almost like when somebody is just like, "Oh, I'm going to go for a run." That's me when I get behind the drums. It's like I need to like express myself physically. I need to blow off steam or whatever it is that do like when you go to the gym or whatever. Then that's where I'm at when I'm playing drums, and yeah, I don't know. Bass is something else for me where it's almost like zen like. I have to forget all kinds of things and just like be present, in this strange way. I don't know. So like sometimes, yeah, I think it's interesting to hear what people really love about playing the drums, and it sounds like for you, the drums are almost like an extremely creative thing, like guitar would be for a lot of people. It's like you're digging all the nuances and like the little things that most people might miss. And I think that's that kind of comes across in y'all songs as well.
Yeah, I do kind of think that I mean, I agree with you about like guitar, like it being like very playful and like like when you're feeling like inquisitive or whatever, like
Hmm.
you kind of gravitate towards guitar.
Hmm.
I feel that way for both guitar and drums. But also like, like you said, like when you need to like do something physical and like run around or whatever, then that's also when I'm like, I need to play drums.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not, I'm in no way trying to short shrift like the creative aspect of playing drums. Obviously, I mean, especially like, gosh, I find myself in those like in the Instagram like rabbit holes or whatever. When if you go on an explore page and there's like people that like make like they make like they'll have like parts of a drum kit and then they'll just have like random shit. Like they'll just have like a bucket with water in it and like some contact mics and they'll be making like beats with like these like Frankenstein like drum kits, you know? And you're just
Yeah.
like this this shit is so wild. Like you could I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing, like how much I fall back on the same like 4 or 5 beats when like you're like this. This is like you could go forever. You could play a different beat in like every single song if if you. I mean, there's like genre trappings. You know what I mean? So you can't
Yeah.
really do that. You know, but like if you if you just wanted to make like an album where you played a different beat in every song and you never played the same beat twice, like 4 beats a song, you know, uh, 10 songs, you know, you're talking about 40 beats that aren't, don't duplicate themselves. Like you could totally do it. I don't know what genre you'd fall into if you did
Right.
that, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I like I'm almost like mentally in another tab in my head, like beating myself up over like the fact that I haven't done something like that, or whatever. Just like because that is what really fascinates me about like music and playing music is like, damn, you could really just go and never stop, right? Like you could just start with an idea and you could just keep going, like, and you could never stop. You could never repeat yourself. I feel like sometimes part of it is that we're all trying to get something out, and like we listen to our past stuff and we're like, yeah, that was awesome, or like, or I didn't quite get that, right? And so
Yeah.
maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's why we go back to these sort of same rhythmic ideas or whatever, because we were close, right? But we didn't quite. I don't know. Do you ever feel I get that kind of feeling?
Yeah. And I think we're kind of similar in that regard. Like, uh, I don't. My bandmates have never called me out on it, but I definitely fall back on like just a lot of like the screamo tropes, like,
Hmm.
and like I came into drumming being like, I want to do screamo. Like, I don't give a shit about. I mean, like, it would be cool to play like math rock or like, like whatever, but I want to play screamo. And so like part of me is like, oh yeah, like I need to learn like all these really wild rudiments and like just like, you know, maybe I could become like a studio musician or whatever. And then part of me is like, no, I just want to get really good at screamo. And played screamo for like 10 years, and then I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah,
But I still haven't like, there's like just so many things where I'm like, okay, on the next release, this is going to be way cleaner. And like these kinds of fills and these kinds of drum beats are just going to be way cleaner, and like I'm going to be way faster, and you know,
yeah. That's actually like when you were talking about like playing faster than you're comfortable earlier, it actually reminded me like that's generally speaking how I like if I have to record drums, I'll give myself 2 days and I'll I'll play along with like the fastest like stuff that I can like think of, like from YouTube or something. I'll put an album on, like I'll put on like Infest, or something like,
uh-huh.
and like for 2 days I'll do partly that, and then like I'll play the songs I'm about to record, but I'll play the songs that I'm about to record as fast as I can possibly play them, like faster than I'm gonna need to record them, like
Yeah.
by a mile, right? And I feel like it, but that when I get to recording, I'm possibly still playing the songs a little faster than I meant, but like I feel like doing those couple days of prep just makes it so much easier for me, like because I'm
Yeah.
used to playing it like way too fast, and yeah, I don't know, like I've tried like similar things with like guitar, just like playing songs faster than I'm supposed to, et cetera, et cetera. But with guitar, it doesn't work the same for me. With guitar, I think I'm always trying to play the songs too fast, and I think with guitar, how I actually like get the motions down is like by playing them slower than I need
Uh-huh.
to. So I don't know what the deal is there. I guess it's just because guitar is not such a physical thing as much as it is it's like cerebral or something, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's about like how fast your brain can tell your fingers to move as opposed to you physically moving, you know? Like I don't know. And I don't know if that's true either. But that's the way that I feel. I feel like with me with guitar, it's always a cooperation between my brain and my fingers. That's the problem. Whereas drums is like, you're it's a much more physical, and you like actually have to be physically prepared to do it in
Yeah. You
my
have to be physically
yeah.
fast.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, both like once I'm there, at the same time I do find that the more I think about what I'm doing in either case, the worse off I am. So I just sort of have to like I had to sort of just be like doing it and not worry about it. Like
Yeah.
same with guitar and drums, but especially with drums, sometimes I can go to where I'm like not worried about it enough. and and it's not like I'll mess up the song necessarily, but like I will be playing the song and I'll be like, I don't know, just like randomly, just like, I wonder what we're gonna eat after the show, or like, and then I'm like, wait, was this the third measure or the fourth,
Yeah.
and that's like, that's almost like cost me, a couple times, but I don't necessarily remember any huge fumbles on that, but it's like, yeah, just like I don't know. It's this weird balance between like you're overthinking it and you make like nervous mistakes, or something to just like you're wondering if that place you ate at last time you were in town is still open.
Yeah. I definitely, yeah, feel that too. There's like a certain sweet spot of like being worried or like being like present.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But like I always find myself and I psych myself out, but I'm always like, oh, I should try this fill here that I've been thinking about, like listening to like our demos or whatever. And then I'll be thinking about it too much and I'll miss it. I'll be like, fuck. And then I
Yeah.
fuck up the rest of the song.
Yeah.
And then.
How much does doing like vocals in the band, how much does that help you like know where you are in the song? And like how much is that like sort of like a good like timestamp, and like because I always found that to be very like do physically doing vocals and playing drums at the same time is not easy. But I always found it to be like, wow, this is like easier than just playing drums as far as like knowing where you are in the song because you have this other thing that you have to do and stay on top of. Like, do you find that to be the case also?
Um, so I think mm, maybe more so in like the songs off of the album, but like now that we're like writing like really short, like concise songs, um, I like there's like really no chance for like people to get lost. I feel like, you
Right.
know, like every single part, at least to me, since like we wrote the songs, is like it's like I don't know, it's like part, and I think it's like pretty straightforward. Um, but I guess like on iteration two, we had like some parts that were just like um, I guess like that would breathe a little bit more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I guess in the opener song, I didn't do vocals in that one. Yes, I did, but um, I would usually count on like other people to come in so that I could be like, oh, okay, this is where we are.
Yeah.
Like in that, there's like a really soft section at the in the middle, like right before all the gang vocals come in, and I would get lost in the gang vocals whenever I would either try to do vocals or I was just like not thinking, and I would like wait for Josh's screams to come in to be like, oh, okay, cool, we have one more go around of this, and then we go into the next part.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of times like I've played with drummers in the past where it's like because they doing screamo or whatever, I've always sort of been like when at practice it's like you'll sort of do the set once just instrumental and then you'll do the set again with the vocals cuz like I just wouldn't want to burn myself out or whatever. And a lot of drummers, the first time it's like it'd be like they'd have a hard time like finding where they were or whatever because they're used to counting the vocals and stuff. And so,
Oh yeah.
when I got behind the drum set, it was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense now. Like when I'm doing the vocals, like, and I know, like, oh yeah, this is where this part is. Even if it was just like the occasional vocal, but yeah, I mean, anymore, it's just like, it's like you said, like I don't write a lot of songs that are over like a minute and 45 seconds. So it's kind of the same thing. It's you kind of always know where you are because there's only just like you're like boom 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 and you're done. But
Yeah. You
but
don't
yeah,
give yourself a chance to get lost.
right, right. And if you do, it's over. That's also over before you know it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So we've been talking about this new EP, and I can't. I got a chance to listen to it a couple times, but I can't remember what's it called and when is it going to be released.
I don't think it has a name yet.
Okay, so that's not on me then. All right.
We were thinking of calling it iteration 3 because this is like technically the third iteration of the band.
True.
And I mean, we had been talking about it like before even iteration 2 came out because we were like, it's going to come out and we're like not going to play those songs anymore. And we're going to like record this EP like immediately and just like call it iteration 3 and like pump it out as fast as possible. Um, but it should be coming out before we go on tour. We're waiting on the stems right now to send it to get mastered, and then I was gonna hit publish on like December 31st, so then it would come out a few days after that.
Oh dang. So like it will be a 2024 release, like, or it'll actually drop like in first couple days of January.
It'll drop the first couple of days of January.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we thought about doing another 2024 release, but with like the holidays and stuff, and like it was like annoying. Like whatever algorithm shit. We just didn't want it to get buried.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from experience that I did a release where I was like, I figured it out. It was a real short release. It was like 12 minutes or something, right? And I figured it out that like if you if I dropped it at this time on New Year's Eve, you would be like halfway through the release when the ball dropped or whatever. And so I thought that was like a fun thing to do. But like at the same time, like nobody gave a shit about the release until like 2 or 3 days later, you know? So
Yeah.
so it was like, well, it was cool to do, it was fun to do, you know, it was a good idea. But how many people like actively gave a shit about that at the time, you know? Me and the other people in the band, you know? That
Yeah.
was like it. But I don't know, you know, like I mean, I I always have a screamo New Year's Eve, you know, so that's just me. But like, I understand that that's not everybody else's thing. I get it. Um, but yeah, that's awesome. So I mean, kind of just from by the time this airs, it'll just be, you know, a couple weeks before people get a taste of potentially called Iteration 3.
Yeah, potentially. We'll see.
Potentially. And are you gonna have like tapes or whatever for your tour?
We were trying. The person who's doing tapes for us said that we would need to get him the masters and like art and stuff a month before we left. But
Yeah, it's
I
kind of.
mean, yeah, it's not looking very likely. We will have Iteration 2 tapes out, and we'll play a few of those
Yeah.
songs. Um,
And
but
when does the tour start and where are you all headed? Did I see that you're headed to the West Coast?
no, we're doing the Midwest.
Oh, Midwest. I don't know why I was thinking
Yeah.
I like because I just saw y'all's name on a flyer earlier on Blue Sky, and I was just like, I think my friend from California posted it, and maybe that's what I was confusing about. But it's like it was a repost or something, you know, from someone else. So maybe that's what. So you're coming up the Midwest. Like where are you hitting?
So our first date, I mean, we're doing an Austin show, right? Kickoff classic.
Mm-hmm.
And then our first date is on the 8th in Kansas City. And then we're doing Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Chicago, St. Louis, and Memphis. Just a quick one.
Oh, okay, but that's a lot of ground to cover in those few days for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be driving.
Yeah, like Austin to Kansas City and then Kansas City to Minneapolis, like that's wild.
Yeah, those are wild drives. We're actually, so the Austin date is on a Sunday. And then we're going to leave the day before to like cut the drive in half. We're going to stay with my parents in North Texas.
Oh, awesome.
And then the next day we'll drive to Kansas City.
That makes a lot more sense. But from do you know offhand what Kansas City to Minneapolis is? That's
I think it's like 8 hours.
really that's it.
Yeah.
I've never even like I live in Indiana and I've never even played Minneapolis. I always want to, but it's like it seems like literally any time it's like Minneapolis is 8 hours from the show before. It seems like literally every time I've looked, I'm like, "Oh, that's 8 hours from there. I don't think we can do it." You know, but like,
So,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just like a straight shot, and I'm usually, you know, hooking around in some weird way. Or obviously, when you have to drive through Chicago or something, that's a bad time as well.
yeah.
But yeah, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like, is there a band or like bands that you're most looking forward to playing with that you know got coming up?
Um, so I've heard really good things about this band. I Hate It Here.
Hmm.
And they're going to be playing with us in Milwaukee and Chicago. And it just so happened that the other bands on that package, this band called This World Is Not Kind, they're going to do 3 dates with us. I'm excited for that. I like, you know, those little like, oh, cool. Like we're going to meet each other and then we're going to spend the next 3 days together.
And that was my conversation with Carlos Cartagena. Thank you so much, Carlos, for taking the time to chat with me. Thanks to all of y'all for listening as well. Until next time, Take care and do good things.